Hello friends and welcome back to my channel, and in this video we are going to discuss about the Java technical interview questions and answers part 1. Okay, so now let's get started. So before starting this video, I would like you guys to subscribe to my channel and press the bell button so that you will be able to get the notifications if I post more videos. Okay, so now let's get started. And the first question here is, what are the different types of classes? Of inner classes. Okay, so what is inner classes? Inner classes nest within the other classes, and in Java there are actually four types of inner classes. They are the static member classes, local classes, as well as the anonymous classes. Okay, so what is anonymous classes? These type of classes that does not have any any name and its local class is known as an anonymous class. Now what is a local class? Local class is declared within a block of code, and these classes are available only within the block. Next one is the member class. A member class is also defined as a member of a class. Unlike the static variety, the member class is an instance specific and has access to any and all the methods and members, even the parents, even its parents reference. Okay, so now what is the static member class? A static member class is a static member of a class. Like any other static method, a static member class has access to all the static methods of the parent or top level class. The next question is, can an inner class be defined inside a method? Yes, it can be defined inside a method, and it can access data of the enclosing methods or a formal parameter if it is final. What is thread local class? How can be used? Okay, so a thread local variable effectively provides a separate copy of its value for each thread that uses it. Thread local instances are typically private static fields in classes that wish to associate the state within a thread. In case when the multiple threads access a thread local instance, separate copy of the thread local variable is maintained for each thread. So now the next question is, what is the difference between the sleep, suspend and wait? Okay, so the thread sleep sends the current thread into the not runnable state for some amount of time. The thread keeps the monitor it has acquired. That is, if the thread is currently in a synchronized block or method, no other thread can enter this block or method. If another thread calls the interrupt, it will wake up the sleeping thread. Note that the sleep is a static method, which means that it affects the current thread. A common mistake is to call sleep where T is a different thread even when it is in the current thread that will sleep. Note that T thread and T suspend is deprecated. Okay, wait a is called an object but not a thread. Wait is called the current thread must be synchronized on the lock object. Wait then releases this lock and adds the thread to the waitlet associated with the lock. And what is suspend, right? A suspend thread keeps all the monitors, and since this is not interruptible, it is deadlock prone. So now the next question is, what is RMI? RMI means it is the remote method invocation. Is the process of activating a method on remotely running object. RMI offers location transparency in the sense that it feels that a method is executed on a locally running object. The next question is, what is RMI and its working? Okay, so what is RMI is given here, and now let's discuss about its working. So RMI is a Java object equivalent process that invokes a method in a distributed environment. RMI performs the communication among the objects using object-to-object communication. RMI uses the object distribution technique and invokes methods of objects which are located in a remote site. Now the working of RMI. The code from machine A is being accessed for the object that is residing on machine B in a remote relocalization or relocation. There are two intermediate objects called stub and skeleton, which actually handles the communication. So this is how it works. Okay, here is given how it works. Building a information block which consists of an identifier of a remote object and operation number that describes the method to be called and the method parameters called Marshall parameters that are to be encoded into the suitable format for transporting over the network. Okay, so now let's see the next one. What are the applets life cycle methods? So the methods are init, start, paint, stop, and destroy. Init method is called when an applet is first loaded. This method is called only once in the entire cycle of an applet. This method usually initializes the variables to be used in the applet. Now next is the start method. We each time an applet is started here, and paint when the applet is minimized or refreshed. This method is used for drawing strings, figures, images on the applet window. The next is the stop method, called when the browser moves off the applet's page. Next is the destroy, when the browser is finished with the applet. What are standalone Java application? Java program that is run by invoking the Java interpreter. Java Code Application Server is an example of Java application, the computer that hosts the web page that contains an applet. The class files that make up the applet and the HTML files that reference the applet reside on the server. When someone on the internet connects to a web page that contains an applet, the server delivers the class files over the internet to the client that make the request. The server is also known as the originating host, the client, which is the computer that displays the web page that contains an applet. The terms server and the client are sometimes used to refer to computers and are sometimes used to refer to computer programs. How do applets differ from applications? Okay, so following are the main differences. Application stand alone doesn't need web browser, but applet needs no explicit installation on the local machine, can be transferred through internet onto the local machine and may run as a The application execution starts with the main method does not work if the main is not there. Applet execution starts with the init method. Application may or may not be using the GUI, but applet always runs on GUI. The next question is, can applets read or write files? In Java-enabled browsers, untrusted applets cannot read or write files at all. By default, downloaded applets are considered untrusted. There are two ways for an applet to be trusted. The one is that the applet is installed on the local hard disk in a directory on the class path used by the program that you are using to run the applet. Usually, this is a Java-enabled browser, but it could be an applet viewer or Java programs that know how to load the applets. Sun's applet viewer also allows applets to read files that reside in the directories on the access control lists. If the file is not on the client's access control list, then the applets cannot access the file in that way. Specifically, applets cannot check the existence of a file, read the file, write, rename, create a directory on the client file system, lists the files in this file, checks the file's type, checks the file size. Okay. What are applets prevented from doing? Generally, applets loaded over the net are prevented from reading and writing the files on the file system and from making the network connection except to the originating host. In addition, applets loaded over the net are prevented from starting other programs on the client. Applets loaded over the net are also allowed to load libraries or to define the native method calls. If an applet could define the native method calls, that would give the applet direct access to the underlying computer. There are other specific capabilities denied to the applets loaded over the net, but the most of the applet security policy is described by these two paragraphs. Can applets on different pages communicate with each other? No, not directly. The applets will exchange the information at one meeting place, either on the local file system or at the remote system. Which classes and interfaces does applet class consist? Applet class consists of a single class and three interfaces: applet context, applet stub, and the audio clip. What tags are mandatory while creating HTML to display an applet? Is the code height and width. So guys, thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel so that you will get the notifications if I post more videos. Please don't forget to give me a comment about this video in the comment box. Bye.